All right, so like I was saying, get back to like the basics, mixing methods, general concepts, and those types of things. Is that I didn't know what everyone's background was coming in as far as the technical skills of the craft bartending world, for lack of better terms. But when do you stir a cocktail? Like, what is the general rule of thumb? How do I know that this cocktail should be stirred?
I should ask. If they order a martini, some people want it shaken, some people want it stirred.
Okay.
If it's like vodka gin martini.
Mm-hmm.
But these, I mean, I don't think it's safe to assume.
So outside of guest preference, general rule of thumb is your like baseline. Always do it when. Do you? I don't know. Is a good answer.
I don't know. I know.
Never thought about it.
Stirring it and shaking it does. I know shaking it dilutes it with the ice and all that stuff to a point.
What if it's citrus?
Stirring does less diluted. I think it has something to do with the alcohol or something. I'm not sure the difference, but
You're on the right track, and you're on the right track with mentioning citrus and stuff. You want to stir a cocktail when all of the ingredients are mostly alcohol ingredients.
okay.
You shake a cocktail when there's citrus, cream, or something that can froth, right? If there's citrus, you're going to shake it. If there's cream, you're going to want to shake it. Unless it's like one of those loophole cocktails where it's like just filled in the glass, like a White Russian or something. You don't have to shake it. Crazy stuff like that. But a stirred cocktail, the difference between stirring and shaking, yes, it dilutes it. So does stirring.
Yeah.
Just dilutes it differently.
Okay.
So when you shake a cocktail, you're crushing up that ice that's in the tin. You're increasing the surface area of the ice cube, creating more contact with the liquid, making the liquid dilute much quicker. When it comes to stirring, so are you guys using this ice for stirring and shaking
Correct.
and everything? Okay. So when it comes to stirring, with that ice, it might be a little tricky to see because there's a lot more surface area than large cubes, but the concept still applies. So I'm just going to put a few ounces of water in here. Let's do a martini. 2.5. General rule of thumb for martini ratio, you know that? Classic martini?
2 ounces of liquor. I'll even do like a half ounce of dry vermouth. Sometimes I just rinse the glass. I usually ask.
5 to 1.
5 to 1? Okay.
5 parts base spirit with 1 part vermouth. 5 to 1. So 2.5, half.
Oh, it's 2.5 ounces
Yeah.
of oh, wow. I've been doing it wrong this whole time.
I mean, that's the classic. 2.5, half, dash of orange bitters. That's your classic vodka, classic gin martini.
You said dash of orange.
So looking at, we can see that, right?
Yeah.
Let's
There should be some food coloring.
add some color here. All right. So, see how my ice is double the depth or the liquid? Ice is double the depth of my liquid. You want to dilute until that ice meets your liquid. Okay. Right. So when all that ice gets its wet look, that's when you're about right for dilution. Shaking, you get that in about 10 to 12 pumps.
Okay.
Right. So I would call that diluted because these little babies are on the top no longer have that white reflectiveness, right?
Okay.
They look like they've been wet in some way. And for the most part, the
It's
liquid
even.
is pretty
Okay.
close to the level. Now that's going to maintain its temperature pretty well. So if I need to prep a glass, prep a garnish, I can let this sit, right? But I'm not trying to get too far off track. What I'm trying to show you guys is the dilution. Is when those two lines of your liquid and your ice, when those two meet up, right?
Okay.
That's kind of your like sweet spot for dilution. And you see, I started with 2 ounces of liquid, right? Heavy. Two, 4, change. So you're doubling,
Gotcha.
right? What people don't a lot of amateur bartenders and at-home bartenders, I don't know if you guys ever heard someone say to you, I make these at home, they just don't taste the same, they just don't taste right. It's probably either over icing or under icing, your dilution rates are off. If you under ice it, it's just as bad as over icing it, because under ice means that ice is going to get exposed to a warmer temperature and it's going to start melting a lot quicker, as opposed to if it was surrounded by more ice, then it's going to bring that liquid temperature down as opposed to bring the ice temperature up. Okay? When building in a glass, if you can ice your glass first, that will help the cocktail from diluting quicker. If you ice your glass, build your cocktail, dump your ice, pour it over fresh ice. Because now you're putting it into a cold vessel with fresh ice that has not been tempered.
Okay.
And what you're pouring on top of it is the liquid that you just brought down the temperature as close to freezing as you can, and now you're pouring it over something freezing that's in something cold. So the profile of that cocktail is going to maintain longevity a lot more than if you had a warm glass or didn't use enough ice and you ended up introducing more melted ice to the drink. See what I'm getting at with that, with dilution and stirring, and how just those simple things could make a huge difference in the flavor profile of a cocktail. And it'll make your wash lines look better. Wash line, is that a vocab word anybody knows? Okay, wash line. The gap between the liquid and the lip is the wash line.
Okay.
That is a tight wash line. I would not want it to be quite that tight. That's a good wash line. So this gap right here,
Yeah.
that's your wash line.
Okay.
In a martini glass, that gap between the liquid and the top of the glass, that's your wash line. So if you notice a drink that's either too full, hey, check your wash lines. What should my wash line on this be? Just the proper term to use when discussing those types of things. Or if you go anywhere else and they talk about wash line, you'd be like, I'm not in the dish pit. Yeah. So when do you shake?
Whether it's a citrus, cream, or anything that can froth.
Yeah, citrus cream, frothing agent. So you've got stirred cocktails that are stirred in a mixing jar and then poured either into an up glass or a chilled glass with ice. Your shaken cocktail, same thing. It's gonna be single strain, double strain, dirty dump. Do we know what a dirty dump is? Okay. And then building in the glass, old fashioned, Negroni, something along those lines that you can build and dilute right in the glass. You don't need to make it in a separate vessel and then pour it over. The building glass cocktail, yeah, we'll leave that. Dilution, getting back to the dilution thing. What people don't realize is cocktails are made up of 50 to 60% water.
Yeah.
Because of the ice. Like these, do you know how many ounces these glasses are?
6.
8, I believe.
Yeah.
These are 8-ounce glasses. When you fill this with ice, there's 5 ounces of ice in there.
Oh wow.
Only 3 ounces of liquid will fit once you fill this with ice. So if you make a martini on the rocks, you better follow the martini recipe, because if you don't, you can be overflowing, right? That martini recipe is a 3-ounce cocktail. Yeah. So knowing your volume size and like if I made this and that first one, like, oh, that wash line was too tight, that tells me either I over diluted it or I over poured some ingredients, right?
Okay.
So that's where that wash line can help gauge your like, did I miss that drink up? Because it shouldn't be that tight, you know what I mean? Or it shouldn't be that loose, shouldn't be that low. So that wash line can be a good indicator. Because I've had colleagues from behind the bar, I make my drink, put on the service and they're like, did you put chartreuse in this? Right? Like, no, I didn't think so, because they taste it. And like, I saw the wash line was low and I tasted it, then I don't get the note that I should. I'm like, good call, thank you. And hold each other accountable. We make mistakes every day. Learn from them.
I have a question.
Shoot, man.
The 8-ounce glass, if it holds 5 ounces of ice and 3 ounces of liquid, how do you count for the dilution in if it's a shaken martini poured on rocks, or do you not shake it?
Well, so that's kind of a double whammy. To me, that tells me it's an inexperienced consumer. Martinis should never be shaken. Like a vodka martini or a gin martini, they should always be stirred.
Okay.
For 2 reasons. One, the risk of over diluting the cocktail, because you can't really see it when you're shaking it. When you pour that cocktail out, if you're not double straining it, you're going to have ice chips on top, which some people want. So that's when you want to clarify if they want a shaken cocktail, because maybe they like chewing on those little tiny ice chips. But when you don't double strain and you do leave ice chips on top of a martini, what you're doing is creating an inconsistency in the cocktail's dilution. Because right now you've got a layer of frozen water on top of that cocktail, which here comes the story. That's why Bond drank his martini shaken, because he wasn't drinking the liquor. He was sipping the layer of water from the top.
Gotcha.
Because that was, I mean, you know, the science of it, alcohol does float. But the story goes that the ice chips is what it was drinking on, rather than
Gotcha.
the actual martini. So he wanted to, and it increases the dilution, so it's making the cocktail less spirit forward, adding more water to it over time. So that's a fun story to tell with the Vesper Martini, and then why you shake a cocktail or shake a martini versus stirring it. The other thing is people often say it bruises the alcohol. That's a common term.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking earlier.
What the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
Right? Are you anemic? Right? Now, what I really think it's getting at is over diluting and introducing air to the cocktail. So if you make a Manhattan stirred and a shaken Manhattan, they're going to look totally different from the get-go. And they'll probably taste different just based on the dilution rates. Your shaken one will likely be a tighter wash line because you're going to have more water in that cocktail.
Cloudier sometimes too, right?
Yeah, it'll definitely turn out, it'll start out cloudy. And then if you let it sit, it'll clear up eventually. But like when you get that, it should be a translucent brown cocktail. I shouldn't be able to, I should be able to see through it, not just see light through it. Right? Any other questions about cocktail preparing, stirring, shaking?
Should I guess you guys might be able to answer this question. When the tickets come up on the service row, there's not really an option for shaken or stirred, is there?
There isn't.
There isn't?
Oh, and toast? Is that what the question was?
Yeah, like I'm not gonna lie, I've
don't
might have
think there is.
disappointed some customers because I've assumed
Yeah, totally fine.
how they're because I don't know when I see it and I'm busy. I'm not gonna lie, I've been shaking them and now I'm made aware that maybe I should be
So
stirring them.
if that's something that you guys want to come together as a house upon,
Yeah.
with like, hey, our house standard, we stir all martinis,
Heard.
right? You want a gin martini, it's going to be stirred. You want a vodka martini, it's going to be stirred. Unless you specify. And it's up to you as the the hospitality professional to clarify their order. Hey, let me get a vodka martini extra dirty. Would you like that stirred or shaken? What's the difference? Shake it. I don't care. If they ask, now you have the tools to tell them what the difference is. Before you'd be like, I don't know, however you want it. But now you say, well, you know, if you shake it, you're gonna get a little bit of ice chips on top. Some folks like that for the mouthfeel. It's a little bit more fun to drink with their cocktail. Me, I like chewing on ice when I'm done with it. I don't want to chew it while I'm drinking it. And some folks want a crystal clear, a windless day on a pond martini. You know, just like a mirror, right? That's how I want my martini. The only thing I want to see on my martini is little droplets of lemon oil. Because you can see it when it's done right. You get that lemon oil expression across the top. If you look at it right, you can just see the little pockets of lemon oil on there. That's all I want to see on the martini glass. But now you guys have the tools to have that conversation. And
For
clarify
sure.
that. So I'd say come up with a house standard, like this is what we do, and then everybody's on the same page, and then you modify from that. That would be my spiel.
Because it normally pops up there, if I'm not mistaken, like neat/rocks, right?
Yeah,
Which really confuses me sometimes.
Oh, so if it's like a martini, it'll show up.
It's just like an upcharge button, if I'm not mistaken, not so much an instruction.
Yeah, so with those other labels, there's often a difference in volume.
Right.
Yeah, so your neat pour, your rocks pour, your doubles pour are going to be different volumes. So that would determine that. But as far as like a martini per se, now these are like off-menu martinis, right? I just want a vodka martini.
Yeah.
That's not on the menu. Doesn't need to be. That's when you go down the road and have the conversation of like stirred, shaken, any preference. Here we stir all of our martinis. We garnish them with a lemon twist. Would you like an olive, dirty? You know. Does that help?
Yeah,
Is that-
definitely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude. There are some other mixing methods that are like throwing a cocktail, or thrown cocktail. I often do this with something that has that you want to increase its effervescence, and you want to mimic shaking without diluting, for lack of better terms.
Okay.
And what you do is literally, maybe you've seen people do it. They take cocktails and they string them like this,
Oh, okay.
right? So, but it requires a lot of space. But
That's-
it's like
that's throwing.
pull, and then pull. Yeah, it's
Okay.
throwing a cocktail. So what you're doing is increasing the air that's going into that, but you don't have any ice in here, so you're not continuing to dilute it. That's for some very specified cocktails and whatnot.
Gotcha.
That's like getting into the weeds and crazy stuff. But just know that that's out there, right? And look up some cool videos of it. Like throwing a cocktail, pretty sweet. One of my colleagues can do it really, really well. I do not. I don't think that's. Template is your base spirit, equal parts sparkling wine, soda water. So whatever your base spirit is, then your soda water. So like your Aperol spritz, I'm sure you guys have it all template on an Aperol spritz, right? Yeah, there's some really cool spritzes out there. I would encourage you to play around with some wine. It's better because that aggressiveness that comes in some of those Amari really gets tamed down by the soda water. It makes it a lot more like. I think of this as like adding salt to a dish, where like it brightens or enhances the flavor. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and soda water, it puts a little space between each of those flavors, and allows you to like, oh, okay, I can taste that now. I didn't taste it without the soda water because all this other stuff was coming at me at the same time. Now it creates a little bit of space in the cocktail for like more floral aroma or something. So taking all of that with what we know, moving into session 6 with Mr. Potato Head, it's exactly what that sounds like. What's that?
Pulling stuff and just replacing everything.
Yeah. Like I said, old fashioned. Tomcat. So Tomcat old fashioned instead of a bourbon old
Try
fashioned.
that.
Keep everything else the same. I wouldn't muddle anything in that.
Right.
Because you don't want orange, you don't want cherry on the honey note. That's messing with those profiles. You want that to be starch. But more importantly, make sure it tells a story. Don't just whip it together and like send it to the wolves and see what happens. Have some intent behind it, because that's what's going to give you personal buy-in, like your give a shit in the cocktail. And it's going to build a relationship with your guests. Equal parts with character. So do you guys know of any other equal part cocktails besides the Negroni we talked about? There's a handful out there. There's not a ton that I'm aware of.
No,
Last word.
Boom, last word.
Oh, Chris made one of those last night. Really good.
Yeah, it was great.
Last word.
Now, Mr. Potato Head, if you take a last word and you use rye instead of gin, what's it called?
Wow.
Close.
No.
Final word.
Final word.
If you take that out and you replace it with mezcal, closing arguments. All of the same cocktail, just a different base spirit. And each one develops. That's your Potato Head. Naked and Famous is another mezcal cocktail. You got a Paper Plane, very similar to a Naked and Famous, bourbon versus mezcal. I think there's this different citrus in there as well. The same template, 3/4, 3/4, 3/4, 4 ingredients, 3/4 jam. So that's what I was getting at with equal parts with care. So taking that equal part template and understanding what each one of those elements are, and then plug and play with stuff. Sour Patch Kids, that's your sour cocktails. Margarita's your base template. Other sours, really, the margarita is your go-to sour template. We do, like I said, a Jaegerita. What if we do a bourbon sour? Gold Rush falls into that category. Whiskey sour, Mueller sour. Yeah.
What's the bee's knees cocktail you guys were talking about?
Gin sour.
That's a gin sour. Okay.
Yeah. Just the sweetener is honey instead of simple syrup. Lemon juice, honey, gin. That puts all there. You got it. Notice the similar themes in all of these elements. Base spirit, sweetener, sour, right? There's a common theme there. They all result in a well-balanced cocktail. That's important. What's the other sour cocktail I was thinking of? Whiskey sour, French 75. Kind of like a blend between the two, right? It's a sour effervescent cocktail, so it's like a spritz sour, right? Kind of bridging the gap between those. But the sooner you can start categorizing these cocktails into those templates or to those families, I think it opens up a better understanding of like how they all work together and how they spun off of each other. And then moving into what the effervescence, that's the spritz world and the French 75 kind of stuff. Anytime I get a new product on hand, one of my favorite things to do is put it in the spritz. Just to separate some things out. We'll just add some soda water to it, and just separate some things out and see if I can pick up on any notes that might be hidden from all of the flavors at once. Okay?